Have you ever imagined that a single person could have the power to change the temperature of the entire planet? Not through advanced technology or green policies, but rather through the sword and brutal conquest. Imagine a world where the human carbon footprint is forcibly erased by the thunder of hooves from the Mongolian steppes.
Our destiny lies not here.
This is not science fiction, but a horrifying historical reality. Genghis Khan's conquests killed so many people that forests grew back over the ruins of civilizations, absorbing millions of tons of carbon dioxide and literally cooling the earth. Today, we will dissect how this architect of genocide inadvertently became the world's first agent of climate change. We begin in the 13th century, when Temujin, who would later become known as Genghis Khan, united the nomadic tribes of Mongolia. The vision was simple yet deadly, to extend power to the ends of the earth. However, the price humanity had to pay was extremely high.
During his reign and that of his successors, an estimated 40 million people perished. To put it in perspective, that encompassed about 10 to 11% of the world's population at the time. If this figure were converted to the current world population, it would be equivalent to the deaths of more than 800 million people within a short period. What happens when millions of farmers, city dwellers, and landowners vanish from the face of the earth? The answer lies in the land they left behind. Regions that were once productive agricultural lands along the Silk Road, stretching from China to Persia and Eastern Europe, suddenly became deserted. Without humans to till the land, cut wood for fuel, or graze livestock, nature is rapidly reclaiming its territory. An in-depth study by the Carnegie Institution for Science provides startling data. When the human population shrank drastically due to the Mongol invasion, abandoned agricultural land quickly reverts to wilderness.
Trees flourish in areas that were once centers of dense civilization. In total, scientists estimate that approximately 700 million tons of carbon dioxide are absorbed from the atmosphere. As a result of forest regrowth in those Mongol-conquered territories. Does the figure of 700 million tons of CO2 sound abstract? Let's make a comparison. That amount is equivalent to the amount of carbon produced by global gasoline consumption over a full year in our modern era. The Mongol conquests were the only event in human history significant enough to truly offset the global carbon emissions of their time. Even the Black Death in Europe, which killed millions of people, does not have the same environmental impact due to its shorter duration and different settlement patterns. Let's break down the impact in greater detail. In northern China, for example, the Jin dynasty suffered total destruction. Cities that were once centers of industry and agriculture were razed to the ground. Without human intervention, natural vegetation once again dominates.
This process creates what scientists call a massive carbon sink. As trees grow, they absorb carbon dioxide for photosynthesis and store it in their trunks and leaves, gradually reducing the greenhouse effect in Earth's atmosphere. This phenomenon contributed to the period known to climate historians as the Little Ice Age. Although the Little Ice Age was caused by various factors, such as volcanic activity and a decrease in solar radiation,
Not far now.
atmospheric cooling resulting from forced reforestation by Genghis Khan is considered one of the early anthropogenic triggers that exacerbated the decline in global temperatures. Earth's temperatures dropped, weather patterns shifted, and winters became far more extreme in the northern hemisphere. However, we must look at the dark side of this scientific fact.
This cooling of the Earth is not the result of environmental awareness, but rather the result of ethnic cleansing and the systematic destruction of civilization. Genghis Khan used terror as a weapon. When a city refused to surrender, he would order a total, indiscriminate massacre, including of livestock. The destruction of ancient irrigation systems in Persia, for example, transformed fertile regions into deserts and wild forests overnight, effectively sounding the death knell for agriculture in the area for centuries. Interestingly, this environmental impact was also driven by lifestyle changes. The Mongols were nomads. They do not like a settled life in big cities. By destroying cities and forcing people back to simpler lifestyles, or simply killing them, they inadvertently reduced the human ecological footprint in the 13th century. This is the most brutal form of geoengineering ever recorded in history. Ecologists often debate, was Genghis Khan a villain or an accidental environmental hero? Of course, from a humanitarian perspective, he is a terrible figure. However, from the perspective of ice core and tree ring data, his period of rule marked a moment when the Earth could take a brief breath from relentless human expansion. This demonstrates just how strong the influence of human activity on our planet's thermostat was even before the Industrial Revolution began. It is also important to note that this impact does not last forever. As the Mongol Empire began to fragment and the human population started to recover in the following centuries, those lands were opened up once again. Forests are being cut down again for settlements. The previously stored carbon is released back into the atmosphere. However, the hiatus of more than a century brought about by the Mongol conquests has left a permanent mark on Earth's geological record.
Furthermore, we must consider how Genghis Khan altered the human genetic map. It is estimated that 1 in 200 men in the world today is a direct descendant of his. In addition to altering the climate, it changes the biological composition of the planet's inhabitants. This is proof of the immense scale of a single individual's influence on complex Earth systems, whether climate, history, or genetics. In a modern context, this story serves as a deeply ironic warning. Today, we are striving desperately to reduce carbon emissions in order to cool the Earth's temperature through green technology and international agreements. Genghis Khan achieved the same thing through mass destruction. Of course, no one is suggesting violent means to save the planet. But these historical facts prove how sensitive the Earth's atmosphere is to drastic changes in population and land use. The long-term impact of this conquest also disrupted the social structures that once maintained environmental balance in certain regions. In Central Asia, the Kannat Canal system, highly efficient at managing water, was completely destroyed because there was no longer any workforce left to maintain it. This causes permanent ecosystem changes that transform the region into a more arid area, which is ironically contrary to the widespread global cooling effect. So, what can we learn from this architect of genocide? History is not merely about dates and the names of war victors, but also about how human actions resonate through the layers of the atmosphere. Genghis Khan might never have cared about carbon emissions or global warming, but his actions prove that humans are a powerful geological force. In conclusion, the Mongol conquests serve as a grim reminder of the relationship between humanity and nature.
A period in which the deaths of millions became an opportunity for nature to recover briefly. This is a chapter of history that compels us to reflect. What price must the Earth pay for the progress of our civilization? And can we find a way to balance it without having to go through destruction like in the past? Thank you for following this dark yet enlightening historical journey. If you feel this information provides a new perspective on history and climate change, don't forget to share your opinion in the comments section. Do you think history will repeat itself in a different way? Don't forget to click the like button if you enjoy in-depth discussions like this. and subscribe for more educational storytelling content that unravels the mysteries of history and science. I'll take my leave now. See you in the next video.